You can see he's posing for his in-laws. In fact, it's to push them off the cliff. This determination really scares me. And also the three little ones. They were playing on another mountain. They took a picture with their camera and happened to record this scene. At night, Zhang Dongsheng reported the incident to the police. He knew there was no surveillance on the mountain, so he lied to the police and said it was an accident. When his wife found out, she slapped him several times, but Zhang Dongsheng said he was sorry. But in his heart, he felt better than ever, because he had been a son-in-law in his wife's house for 8 years. He was good to his family, but because he made so little money at work, so no one looked up to him, especially at family gatherings. There were always some uneducated relatives, mocking him to his face.
事业对男人很重要啊，男人没有野心就不算男人。
He can ignore all this, but his wife is so ashamed. She went back for a divorce, and the in-laws don't even try to persuade her. They even encourage it. All they said was that they were ashamed. Dongsheng was forced to kill. After the murder, he took care of his parents' funeral, took care of his wife, seeing that his wife is going to change her mind, back on track. But he never expected that he would suddenly receive a letter warning him not to kill again. The letter was sent by the three little ones. The reason why they didn't call the police, because one of them, Yanliang and Pupu, they escaped from the orphanage. They didn't want the police to find them, but they were also afraid that Dongsheng would continue to kill. So after finding out that Zhang Dongsheng is a teacher at the youth palace, Zhu Chaoyang took the initiative to disguise himself as a student attending the class. He took the entrance exam. He handed in a warning letter when he handed in his papers. But Dongsheng was too smart. He used his pen to detect the traces of answers on the envelope. After comparing it with the exam paper one by one, and he identified Zhu Chaoyang instantly. When he found the 3 pairs, he was relieved. Just a few kids are too easy to deal with. After confirming the authenticity of the video, he offered to exchange the memory card for 30,000 yuan. After all, he didn't know why they didn't call the police. He didn't expect Yan Liang to ask for $300,000 out of the blue. Everyone was shocked, but only Pupu knew. He was trying to raise money for his brother's medical expenses, and that's why they escaped from the orphanage. But Dongsheng had no money. He could only leave his phone number, asked them to reconsider. Then he left, because he was sure they wouldn't call the police. The kids thought it over. They thought that asking the murderer for money is also a kind of punishment for him. Plus, their brother's condition was getting worse, so they called and said they wanted 300,000 yuan, not a penny less. Otherwise, they'd turn him in immediately. Dongsheng heard their strong tone, so he offered to make the deal at his home. Chaoyang agreed, but at the same time, he was careful. He asked Yan Liang to wait outside with his camera. If anything goes wrong, he'll call the police. He and Pupu went to Dongsheng's house to get the money. Dongsheng found them. He couldn't rob them without a camera, so he used a delaying tactic. He gave them a bank card with $30,000 in savings, and promised to pay the rest in installments, to stabilize them for the time being. But one thing led to another. One time he found out by chance, his wife's male best friend had been secretly persuading his wife to divorce, and said he should lead a better life. His wife thought it made sense, so she started to divorce him again, even prepared to separate. Dongsheng is very hard to bear, so he asked painfully,
我还有机会吗？
Seems to stay. In fact, it is asking you still want to live. But his wife didn't take the chance. The next day, while swimming, she drowned in an accident. Now it's okay. Dongsheng's only remaining thought is to return to a quiet life. But just at that moment, Sunrise came to ask him for money again. And this time, he was completely determined to kill. He borrowed $300,000 from a loan shark, just to buy a little video, to buy a small video. And the content of the video is exactly what he killed. But a murderer's money is not that easy to get. The man's name is Dongsheng. He had followed the kids who were blackmailing him, so he knew they lived in an abandoned houseboat. After getting the video, he took 2 barrels of petrol from his car. He planned to rob the 300,000 in the night. Then he'd burn down the boathouse and kill them. If the kids hadn't asked for so much, he wouldn't have done it at all. He didn't expect it. He was just about to rob the money. A man came out of nowhere to stir up trouble. It's obvious that he's not after the money. He seems to have a grudge against. This kid named Zhu Xiaoyang has a grudge. In the end, He drove off and took the money with him. Chaoyang's companions realized that the situation was not right. They had to get into Dongxing's car and follow him. They went to Chaoyang's father's cold storage. Chaoyang was tied up under a pipe and drenched with cold water. The men forced him to answer only one question. How did your sister Jingjing die? Jingjing fell to her death from the 5th floor of the youth palace, from the only surveillance camera in the lobby. The police found that Chaoyang was also at the youth palace at that time, and the man is Jingjing's real uncle. He believes that this incident must be, Chaoyang must have something to do with it, because Jingjing is the sister of Yang's father's remarriage. She has a very bad relationship with Chaoyang. Under constant questioning, Chaoyang could only admit that he was on the 5th floor at that time, but Jingjing did fall by herself. The man immediately called Yang's father. He wanted to confront the family face to face. At that moment, Dongxing came in, but he didn't want to save Chaoyang. He was looking for the car keys, because the 300,000 yuan, the man locked it in the car outside, but the man found him as soon as he found the keys, and he was beaten up by the man. Dongxing was furious, took out his arm knife, stabbed the man to death. I just want to get money. Why did you hit me? When Yangba arrived in a hurry, he only found a fainting Chaoyang. When Chaoyang woke up in the hospital, he pretended not to know anything about the police. After all, it's about Jingjing and the blackmail. He couldn't let outsiders know about it, especially his beloved father. At that moment, Dongxing suddenly came to him. He asked for the key to the cold room. It turns out that the body was too late to be disposed of. Dongxing hid it in the cold room. Now they're in the same boat. The only way to keep the secret is to cooperate. After being discharged from the hospital, Sunrise stole the key from his father. She stole the key from her father and gave it to Dongxing, but he accidentally found out that Yanliang and Pupu were also hanging out with Dongxing. They seemed to be on good terms. Pupu was in Dongxing's car. He explained to Dongxing. He took the 300,000 yuan to save his life, and Dongxing just wants to return to normal life. He didn't want to kill again, so he really gave them the money. To save people. The reason why they haven't left yet, because of the embargo on ships during typhoons, and the police are searching outside. The two of them escaped from the orphanage, so they found Dongxing and asked to be taken in. So 1 criminal and 3 children. A very strange and warm scene was created, but Dongxing soon realized he was set up by Yanliang. The murderer in front of him was about to explode with rage. Yanliang had no choice but to hand over the copy card. The card stored the evidence of Dongxing's murder. It turns out that Yanliang had decided long ago, after blackmailing Dongxing, he would report Dongxing to the police. But Dongxing soon realized it was an empty card. He felt endlessly cheated, so he took it out on his sponsor, Pupu. Pupu had an asthma attack and Dongxing took it as an act. By the time he realized something was wrong, Pupu was already unconscious. He rushed to call 120. He was about to give his address but hesitated. Yanliang also just found out it was an empty card. He asked his companion, Chaoyang, what was going on? He took Maiden as a hostage. Chaoyang said he didn't make a copy in the first place, but he couldn't explain why. Yanliang was about to call the police. Chaoyang hurriedly called Dongxing and said, It's obvious that Chaoyang is afraid. If Yanliang told the truth, he'll be arrested as a result. After all, he was involved in the blackmail. Dongxing stopped Yanliang by threatening his servant's life, and because he went to the cold storage, he was going to exchange his servant for the real duplicate card. On the other hand, Yang's father also went to his own freezer to check it out. He was surprised to find a human hand in the freezer. At that time, Yang's wife came to look for him, but she met Dongxing, who was holding a steel rod. When she shouted, he was strangled by the panicked Dongxing. He strangled him alive. Dongxing was completely helpless. I just wanted to get rid of the body. I want my card back, to live a quiet life again. Why do they all have to get involved? Sunrise went into the cold room to make a deal for Yanliang, and Dongxing just closed the door. What's the deal? He just wants to destroy everything. So he went in front of Dongxing. He stabbed the sheep to death. Then he killed him and Yanliang, who sneaked in behind and put them all in the cold room, spread petrol everywhere, and burned them all in a single fire. But what he didn't expect was, Chaoyang and Yanliang escaped through. They escaped through a secret passage. Chaoyang lied to the police. He said his stepmother kidnapped him. He didn't know anything else. He wanted a normal life again. But Yanliang still wants to tell the truth and want revenge. So Chaoyang became completely black. He had a plan and asked Dongxing out again. On the boat, Dongxing was the first to find Yanliang. Then Dongxing found Chaoyang. He wanted him to kill himself. He wanted to get rid of him anyway. But when Chaoyang was hesitating, Yanliang came in time to stop him. He advised him not to go down the wrong path. So Yanliang wasn't killed just now.
我不会杀你，我会让你们活下去。婆婆没死，我早就送她去医院了。
Chaoyang regrets being friends with Yanliang. Because of Yanliang and Maiden, he was forced into a life of crime, so he threw Yanliang away. Yanliang fell into the sea. The police arrived just in time. Chaoyang had called the police. When Dongxing saw this, he smiled and said something worth thinking about. Fairy tales are always beautiful, but reality is not always. Yanliang was saved in time. Grandma and her brother were also successfully matched. But this is just a fairy tale. At the end, Yanliang went to school to see the sunrise in the assembly hall, but there were so many people there. But only Chaoyang noticed him, because Yanliang is just a fantasy of Chaoyang. He was already killed by Dongxing on the boat. Chaoyang guided Dongxing on the boat, so that he could discover Yanliang's exact location. That's how they killed him with a borrowed knife. And Pupu wasn't sent to the hospital. Since that asthma, he hasn't been seen again. The police said they found Pupu. The police said they found Pupu with a grave expression on his face, because Pupu was also dead. In reality, the sunrise, he made up a story for the police. He put all the blame on Dongxing. He even faked the diary to convince the police of his innocence, and Chaoyang became the next Dongxing.